Fires, G-Pies, and 3-0s. Oh my, what haven't we seen today? What is next in store? We are going to be seeing another elimination match. The winner of this gets to go to the grand final to play against Wildcard Gaming, who have looked absolutely phenomenal in this tournament so far. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host, joined by Zico, Supatees, and Venruki. This next matchup, the interesting thing that we already did note is both of these teams have already lost to Wildcard Gaming, so it's a little bit scary, but how do you think they go head-to-head, C?
I think that Method Black has the advantage here for sure. I think we're going to be seeing Raikou go on that Frost Mage, try to play a little bit of a long, slow game here in game number 1. We already saw We Were Here struggle a lot against Change My Mind when they played that Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Resto Druid, and they managed to narrowly take it down, but they almost got reverse swept there for a second, and if it wasn't for the back of some of those mistakes in the Shadow Priest, I think Change My Mind would have still been in the tournament. So I think Method Black can safely take that previous game as a kind of a learning curve and play the double wizard games here on Nagrand Arena and then get themselves back into the final.
Yeah, and this isn't a team that you really expect to, you know that they can take a loss even though it's something that they don't have to do very often, but they always tend to have an answer. And this time around,
Whoa.
Wow.
50-50.
Whoa.
That's actually really interesting. All right.
Wow.
I mean,
Faith has been lost.
50% of people are going to be disappointed.
Well, it is true that We Were Here is it is true here that We Were Here. They're actually running a composition that we just saw Wildcard Gaming implement against Method Black and actually beat them. So things aren't too bad here for We Were Here. I think this particular matchup on this map will be difficult for them, but I think they can find moments of burst where they can play aggressive. They could potentially try to play the long game as well.
Yeah, most certainly. Tsuneki actually making a change here, running that Serenity. Obviously, you being a veteran Windwalker, Monk, Venruki, how do you feel about that talent choice?
Well, here is one of the things, and I actually explained this yesterday while we were watching the series in North America, but Storm, Earth, and Fire, it can get abused by Elemental Shamans and Frost Mages. If a Frost Mage uses either Frost Nova or his Pet Nova on your Storm, Earth, and Fire, they're stuck. They don't get your Tiger's Lust, they don't get your Trinket, they are just stuck in place, and you end up losing a ton of damage with that. In addition to that, Swapsy, if he does use his Thunderstorm to knock Tsuneki away on his Storm, Earth, and Fire, then he's going to be losing damage there. So Serenity, although not typically used, I can see the logic in using it against a Frost Mage and an Elemental Shaman, and it can potentially make their all-ins a little bit scarier as well.
Tsuneki already getting blasted in midfield by Method Black. Method Black will obviously want to be making it back to that grand final for a rematch as they got toyed with against Wildcard Gaming earlier today, and now looking for an opportunity to have a second chance. Now, of course, We Were Here not going to make that easy. They are playing a very defensive strategy, death gripping the casters to the pillar, stun locking Swapsy here out of line of sight of Chaz and trying to burst him down. Ring of Peace to lock him further behind, but with Ghost Wolf, Swapsy bounces away from that attack. Now that Frozen Orb is placed, Swapsy actually getting aggressive here, standing on top of the enemy team, trying to dish out some damage before dampening. Gallon with Way of the Crane can easily deny any of that attack. So what We Were Here are looking for is deep into dampening. They go for a triple Maledicts, force an Ice Block by Raikou, play defensive, wait for Maledicts again, go for a triple push, try to get a second Ice Block, then deep in dampening, go once again for a triple Maledicts, Way of the Crane on Gallon. All three members on top of Raikou, deep in dampening with 3 Maledicts to absorb healing and push them over the edge. That's really their only option because the oppressive snares of the Frost Mage can just prevent them from continuing sustained damage. We do see another attack on Swapsy, and I like that they're actually attacking Swapsy before dampening. This may confuse Chaz moving later into the game when they do, I think, likely switch their attention to Raikou.
Yeah, Tsuneki was holding on to that Serenity for quite some time, ended up using it, not unfortunately really getting too much done. Swapsy, still with the Astral Shift, was able to easily kite away. And that's one of the things, I just feel like the comp that Method Black has is really difficult for We Were Here to actually get any sort of damage rolling. Touch of Karma does get used. Vortex nicely placed by Chaz, soaking up one of those rolls. Tsuneki tries to roll out of it, then gets sucked back into the middle, and then his mobility becomes very limited. But Raikou taking a little bit of burst. Iron Bark should deflect a lot of this damage, incapacitate on Chaz. He trinkets out, looking for some additional healing. Raikou actually trying to counter pressure here with Icy Veins. wants to hold on to these ice blocks at all costs, but there's just so much damage from We Were Here. They could actually force it out. A huge heal connect by Chaz. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but that was massive.
Suniki still low on health. Comet Storm crashing down from the sky above onto 2 members. Frozen Orb pinning them against the pillar. Swapsy moving in maybe to thunderstorm them back in a line of sight. Chaz takes this opportunity when the enemy team is overly defensive and out of position to simply sit down for a quick drink, reset his mana pool for a late game victory, as it's likely going to be necessary unless Swapsy and Raikou can find a way to get this team We Were Here off the pillar. Gallon initiates crowd control. The setup looks decent so far here towards Raikou, but without Maledicts before dampening, they are unable to keep up the pressure.
I really like what Raikou did in that last push. He uses the Icy Veins as counter pressure, and that's what you want to do with your offensive cooldown sometimes. When you're being attacked, sometimes the best thing you can do is try to deflect them by putting out your own pressure. So Raikou with the Icy Veins, or sometimes you'll see Destruction Warlocks with the Infernals. They use that cooldown to create overwhelming damage and force these cleavers back to the pillar where it was exactly where they want them. If Raikou can swap, he can force We Were Here to run away. They're going to just run out of time eventually, not have the uptime that they need to close out the game, and that is the strategy for Method Black. Maylined all over Raikou right now, Suniki and Gallon as well, trying to push. Grip onto the Ebon Bolt as Suniki looking for some increased damage. Ray of Frost gets channeled out. Suniki has to trade out his Touch of Karma, but it's not nearly as big a deal. For the Windwalker Monk, Touch of Karma, low cooldown. Diffuse Magic, low cooldown. They can toss those out, potentially get an ice block and run away. That's exactly what you want to be doing as We Were Here.
Yep, that strategy is going to be effective for We Were Here. They came here to play. They're only a 3-man roster, but they're doing everything in their power to stay alive in the tournament. It's not very often that we see a 3-man roster make it to the top 3. They're definitely contenders. I'm curious to see who they decide to pick up as a 4th moving on into the future, because they're so successful with just the 3 of them. Imagine if they actually had a 4th member for some diversity. Potentially they don't need it here with the strategy they're trying to implement against the caster team of Method Black. They have decent pressure, but I haven't seen an all-in attempt. That triple Maledict, they need all 3 of them, so they can launch one first of all to get Chaz to dispel, launch another, and then immediately as that healing absorption begins to fade, launch the 3rd. With that significant healing absorption, they can get enough damage snuck through the Restoration Druid healing to force a powerful cooldown like Ice Block. But they're not coordinating it, and they're not getting the Ice Blocks, and deeper into dampening, if they can't get those cooldowns, I think that Method Black will be able to close this match.
Yeah, we're at 6% dampening right now. Chaz on 50% mana, going to be looking to sneak away for drinks. Gallon a little bit ahead, caught into a full hex, looking for some heals onto Mayline. Anti-Magic Cell does get traded out as he's looking to push and continue his pressure onto Swapsy. Suniki behind the pillar with the Lightning Lasso, forcing out the Life Cocoon from Gallon to stay alive. And before we're even that deep in dampening, both teams are managing to find good pressure in this matchup. We saw this matchup kind of play out yesterday between the Super Frogs and For Fun, where the Super Frogs basically destroyed For Fun. They were just caught behind the pillar the entire game. We Were Here choosing to make offensive pushes in the game, which I think is intelligent. The Frost Mage damage isn't super high outside of the Icy Veins. Swapsy finding a Lightning Lasso, so you can push in, although you don't have great uptime. You're not going to be feeling too threatened, especially if you have your Anti-Magic Shell, your Touch of Karma Diffuse. That's your moment to sort of push in, get aggressive. Anti-Magic Zone gets traded out by Mayline. Just going to want to stay in that purple circle as it does reduce magic damage.
Yep, perfect defensive usage here by Mayline. Gallon trying to charge forward with Way of the Crane, boosting his damage. And if they can't net an ice block with that added damage, they're in trouble. They're getting pretty close. Chaz is still denying it, but at the cost of his mana, and it may actually become more inefficient for him to try to power through that instead of just simply trading an ice block. But now he's sneaking away. He's trying to get in stealth. Ring of Priest knocks him away from that, but he's currently invisible. Gallon definitely needs to consider picking up that Shadow Sight Eye, the purple crystal in the far corner next to the gate that allows a player to see invisible targets. Suniki under fire while Gallon went on that mission to stop Chaz from drinking, and it was a mission that ultimately failed. Chaz is resetting that mana bar, the blue bar, going right back to full, and that's going to give his team a huge window of opportunity to extend this match even further.
Yep, Chaz with full mana is going to be looking very healthy for his team. Gallon at 40% mana right now, not doing as great. And I think the opportunity for Gallon to actually sneak away and drink in this match isn't going to be nearly as high as it is for Chaz with the Night Elf and the Shadow Meld being able to stealth. And really, We Were Here, they're the ones that have to pull back to the pillar to try to escape. And there's not too many places Suniki and Mayline can run in the match where Galoon can sort of hide and run for himself and get some mana back. So once Gallon's out of mana, it's pretty much over. At 20% dampening, he's going to have to start throwing out the Enveloping Mist, which is a very expensive spell to keep his team alive. Raikou right now trying to get some burst damage out with the Blizzard, with the Frozen Orb Storm. Keeper gets cast out by Swapsy as he's looking for additional burst and capacitate on Chaz. Sunakai trades out the Touch of Karma to sort of trade through and try to get that second Ice Block from Raikou, but I don't think it's going to happen. He has the Temporal Shield up. He should get topped off, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, most certainly will, moving into dampening. Now with only one ice block, though, We Were Here are hitting their objective points for the rest of the match. Gallon, with Way of the Crane activated, boosts his damage enormously, although wasn't actually able to connect anything with the team, and that's really the name of the game here. We Were Here have to more properly coordinate their Maledicts together to be able to take down a target against Chaz's defensive lineup. If they can't coordinate together, then they will not be able to penetrate through for a kill. Currently, crowd control onto Chaz. This is a good moment to try and get the second ice block of Raikou, but still not enough damage to do it. We're getting into the deep ends of dampening. Gallon is actually the one who's falling behind on mana.
Yep, not doing too great right now, and he's really not gonna... One of the problems for the Mistweaver Monk as well is once you're this low on mana, you can't be trading out the Way of the Cranes as often. A nice interrupt there by Raikou. Sunakai actually having to run. He doesn't have many defensives left. Anti-Magic Zone gets completely wasted there. Sunakai, luckily, is able to port behind the pillar, toss out some heals on himself, and you can see Gallon, he's caught across the map right now. Lightning Lasso coming in from Swapsy. He's trying to close out the game. Sunakai able to keep himself alive for a little bit longer, but still with no defense for another 5 seconds. He needs to get line of sight of Gallon. Gallon might have to use the Way of the Crane to connect some heals, looking for some Soothing Mist, trying to fake out the counterspell of Raikou. Nice Cyclone here by Chaz. Looking to use that mana to get a little bit aggressive right now. Ebon Bolt gets cast out. Sunakai has to trade out the Touch of Karma. He still has to defuse as well. Now his Serenity, so that's an opportunity for him to push in and try to close out the game. But Swapsy in hot pursuit doesn't want him to fully reset, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. Chaz's mana now even with Gallon, and this is what we see in the rest of Druids. Although it's easier for them to sneak off 4 drinks, they have to do it more often as their spells are more expensive and their mana regeneration isn't nearly as good as the Mistweaver Monk or the Restoration Shaman, so they have to consistently look for drinks in these games.
It's still anyone's match here in the lower bracket. Raikou getting bursted. I want to see some coordination here by We Were Here. If they want to get that second objective, the second ice block of the match, if they are not able to, they will be in trouble deeper into dampening. Life Cocoon will become less effective, and Lightning Lasso will likely find a kill for the team of Method Black. Gallon needs to maybe try and sneak away for a drink himself, but really not finding the opportunity. He's constantly having to hunt down Chaz, and having access to Prowl makes it so much more dangerous for the team of We Were Here. They have to constantly keep their eyes on Chaz if they want to deny his incoming drinks. Maylined in deep dampening is going to take a huge Earth Shock straight to the face by Swapsy, and these Earth Shocks are going to become more and more difficult to deal with as dampening gets deeper. Death Strike becomes less effective. They need to start pushing ice blocks out from Raikou. They need to start coordinating their attacks, because at this point, it's just sloppy.
Yep, there's a full Hex on Gallon as well. Mayline did a lot of trouble. Anti-Magic Shell does fade. The Death Knight is very vulnerable, caught in midfield. Swapsy with a Lightning Lasso. Mayline has to trinket out to avoid that damage. Raikou not under that much pressure as he gets low. Anti-Magic Zone is traded out. Chaz with no mana left. Raikou might have to consider actually throwing out this ice block. He gets interrupted. Chaz with the Innervate might be able to keep him alive a little bit longer, but Mayline, if he can keep a little bit more uptime, Raikou's going to be very vulnerable. Interrupt onto Ebon Bolt. Now that Mayline has to run behind the pillar, this is the final moment of the game. I don't think he's going to be able to survive. They need to keep the pressure up. Method Black looking good, claiming game number 1. It took a lot of dampening, but at the end of the day, this is exactly the plan that Method Black wanted to close out the game.
The question is whether or not it's going to be their plan throughout the entirety of the series. So many times we say that Method Black has just about every tool you can need to be able to craft perfect 3-0s. The last series, they didn't have an answer. This time, they are able to get the blind.
Yeah, now they know they're going to be going up against one of those melee cleaves, most likely. Of course, they're going to lock in the LA Mage. It's such a great comp at this map because you have two threat targets. Of course, you want to be taking down Raikou. He's very squishy, but you also want to not leave Swapsy free because he's going to be doing devastating amounts of damage. And then, of course, just the Frost Mage Restorative Synergy. We've been talking about it time and time again, allowing Chaz to go for those drinks. Beautiful offense from Chaz, actually, at the end of this one. on, using his Innervate, going for that Bash Cyclone. Raikou sheeping up Galoon's Trinket as well there at the end, and then they managed to squeak in that kill on mainline at 45% dampening. And now we're most likely going to see either Dalaran or Hook Point selected by We Were Here. And now I want to know, has Method Black done their homework? Are they going to take a card out of Wildcard Gaming's hand and maybe go for something like an Asa Rogue on a small map? Because I think that would be very, very advantageous in order for them to get that rematch and actually take that double edge advantage. Abuse the small map against them, similar to what we saw previously.
I think that's exactly what needs to happen, right? You look at the last series, and now Method Black is almost in a position where they just need to do exactly what was done to them. They can come in on one of these small maps now and just say, hey, I know this was your pick, but we can use it. We can take down 2 wins in a row. We might see even another 3-0 here if they're able to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I think on the smaller maps, I'm not exactly sure what compositions I want to see. I think Zico might be onto something with the Rogue Mage, but in this new patch, it doesn't seem like Rogue Mage has enough time. Normally, way back in the days, when you see Rogue Mage, they'd be looking for all-out aggression, but lately it's been still longer games, and a lot of it falls back on the control of the Restoration Druid and the Frost Mage, and with the Restoration Druid not having access to Cyclone as often, I just don't think the composition overall is as strong as it was a week ago. So I don't have full faith in Rogue Mage, especially into Windwalker, Death Knight, Mistweaver, but maybe it's something that they could try.
Well, I think that the way you play it isn't, you don't play Rogue Mage in the sense that, oh, Chaz is going to go for the Cyclones and Raikou's going to try to follow up with Polymorphs and you're trying to take somebody down, because let's face it, even if you CC Galoon for 30 seconds, your Frost Mage is not going to have enough damage to actually bring somebody down, and the self-healing is also way too crazy. I want to see the dampened Frost Mage. Just have Waz attack the Windwalker, force him to run away. When the Windwalker runs away, then Chaz just goes and drinks, and then you just keep doing that. The Asaroth is going to have a fantastic amount of uptime on a small map, and there you have a win condition later in dampening, and when that Vendetta damage is going to be overwhelming.
Do you think without Cyclone, like frequent Cyclones from Chaz, that the Frost Mage can actually get away from a Death Knight and a Windwalker? Because I feel like in the past, that's what it really relied on with the Restoration Druid and the Frost Mage. The Frost Mage could kite back to his Druid, get the Cyclones, and that's really how he survived. Without that, I think We Were Here is going to be able to run him down.
I think that the Asaroth is going to be able to go on that Windwalker and force the Windwalker eventually to run away, because the damage is going to be too high, and when he does, then, okay, we see a Windwalker DK. That's interesting.
Yep.
They are using the map against them.
I wanted to see a cleave, but I actually wanted to see Rep Paladin and Arms Warrior. I actually think that might do extraordinarily well into all these melee cleaves. That usually it's been Arms Warrior Demon Hunter or Arms Warrior Rep Paladin, something like that, is kind of like the king of the cleave. And we haven't seen any team try it, and that's mostly why I want to see it, is just to see if it works. Sharpened Blade with huge bursts from the Rat seems like it would work in theory.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were going to have a warrior on any map, it would probably be Hook Point as well. But I do want to bring up the fact that Chaz going to be taking a pretty interesting decision here. We saw a lot of Paladins that opted into maybe playing a DPS or into playing a Resto Druid yesterday in North America. And you said, hey, I think Paladins could actually be good. Then we saw that, and we started to move maybe away from that idea a little bit. Why do you think Chaz opts into playing it here?
Well, I think because it's a smaller map, what Method Black wanted to set up is a Windwalker DK mirror, because if it had been a Windwalker Death Knight mirror, the other team has a Mistweaver. That Mistweaver is going to be very susceptible to getting all-in with the Hammer of Justices. But We Were Here, they have a good response. I think with the Demon Hunter and being able to reverse magic on that Hammer of Justice, as well as have that safety of the darkness for Gallon if he does get caught into a full stun, it's a lot better of an answer, and I don't think Method Black is going to be able to play as aggressive, and I think We Were Here might be able to actually outlast them with this composition.
Okay. You still wanted to see the Warrior, though, right, Sid?
I think so, yeah. We've seen Swapsy, I think, in the past play Retribution Paladin, and Waz has played Warrior. Yeah, they used to play that all the time for their kind of cleave counter, and they're facing a team that can only play cleave. It could also probably be really effective at killing a Windwalker, even if Mayline switches on to Demon Hunter. I think it's something that maybe people are sleeping on overall compositionally right now. I think I would like to see it at least tried.
We saw a similar matchup yesterday with...
it was Red Paladin Death Knight. That's a lot different.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the Red Paladin. I agree with you on the Red Paladin Warrior thing. I'm talking about this particular matchup. We saw this being played by the boys in the Method Orange yesterday. We knew that Method Orange They went after the Demon Hunter in the beginning, and it didn't work out too well. But when they started targeting the Windwalker, the matchup was kind of swung. I feel like Method Black should have just locked in a different healer, maybe Shaz on the Resto Shaman, and then just targeted Suniki and try to take him down similarly to what we saw yesterday. I have to agree with Elliot here. I think We Were Here can easily outlast this if they just play a long game. I don't see them dying, and I don't see Gallon dying anytime soon either in either of those swaps because of the darkness, because of the utility from Demon Hunter. And Melan can even go for the Mana Rift here and even put Chest under more pressure.
Yeah, I mean, he also has gallons and gallons of mana, but I think you have to look at Method Black and say that they definitely, they set up the draft very well, right? I think what they tried to do is intelligent. Did it completely come to fruition? No. I think that they are in somewhat of a tough spot here. But if they were able to make this work, that's when you say, oh, they might get the 2 wins in a row, which would be ridiculous. The fact that we've already seen that happen to them today isn't something you expect, but I do think it is important that Sid did bring up the fact that he wants to see the Warrior. That's not something that we're hearing that much. I know currently all of the Warriors are basically on vacation right now. Swifty's actually snowboarding down a mountain in Romania right now, just waiting to be called back to action. It's not going to be here, though. Method Black going onto hook point, trying to find that 2-0, but We Were Here may have the composition that can outlast.
Yeah, one of the benefits of the Holy Paladin as well, with the blessing of protection and his divine shield, he can actually remove the touch of karma from Suniki and try to push through, or Suniki, and push through that defensive. It looks like Mayline and Suniki, they're going to be pushing in. Nicely done by Chaz. He's actually playing the Blinding Light. He trinkets out of the first stun with Blinding Light. Now Gallon could be in a little bit of trouble as he ports away and keeps Swapsy. That was actually beautiful positioning there from Gallon. Runs into the room, drops the Ring of Peace, and runs away. So Waz and Swapsy unable to chase him.
Ring of Peace could be super effective in this matchup at locking the opposing team in their respective starting areas. This is the weakness of the Paladin. You just simply target the Paladin as a melee cleave. What's he going to do? He doesn't have many options. His instant cast healing is quite limited. If he goes for hard casted spells, then he can be interrupted. He's already had to trade a gigantic opening defensive arsenal against his opponents, and this Paladin switch is definitely a mistake on the side of Method Black.
Yeah, Chaz might be able to survive. He still has the blessing of protection, but if Mayline gets lucky, he can use the Demon Hunter Purge and remove that. And so far, Gallon's been doing a good job with this portal, looking to escape. Now caught into a full Hammer of Justice. Darkness gets dropped out, and that's the Demon Hunter utility we're looking for. But Waz with a beautiful Ring of Peace, keeping Gallon out of the safety of that darkness. If we look at mana, Chaz does have a little bit of a lead. It's going to be more difficult for the Mistweaver Monk to keep himself alive, at least in terms of mana. Chaz getting caught into the Fell Eruption. Does he have anything left to survive? Blessing of Protection gets used. Did Mayline get it off? Unfortunately, wasn't able to find it with that Demon Hunter Purge. Because of that, Chaz should be able to stabilize, but now it's just so vulnerable as a target.
Yeah, each time Chaz gets caught in a stun, he's going to need an answer to trade. He's already used his Gladiator's Medallion, his Divine Shield, his Blessing of Protection. The next time he gets stunned, he really doesn't have an option. That's happening right now here as We Were Here look to close the match, definitely punishing this Paladin flop by Chaz. Going for that big heal, gets dispelled on it by Mayline, doesn't heal for nearly enough to be able to potentially stay alive here as Mayline Suniki goes straight for the throat. But at the same time, Method Black are racing down Gallon on the opposite side of the map. He's trading Fortified Brew. He's actually behind on mana. This is quite possibly going to be a healer race to the finish. Chaz is slightly behind in this position. Oh no, another Blessing of Protection. That's going to allow him to stay alive for a little bit longer, and it's actually Gallon now who's on the back foot.
Yeah, almost completely out of mana, down to 40% health, trying to keep himself alive with the Thunder Focus Tea, spamming out as many heals as possible. Waz with a beautiful Ring of Peace knocks him out of the safety of his own Ring of Peace. Gallon almost completely tapped on mana. Chaz with his wings, he's going to be able to keep himself alive with the increased healing. Beautiful pick from Method Black if they can close it out. Gallon, no mana left, caught into a stun, and this is the Method Black we know and love, turning this composition on We Were Here's heads.
We did not expect that one to happen. Method Black is going to be able to turn it around, and all of a sudden, they look so good for the rest of the series. We talk about this as a team that, if they get the blind pick, it's such a huge threat because they're going to be able to have that momentum. They don't even need it right now. We're looking like a completely different team than what we saw in their last series.
They went extremely fast in this game, and it's not expected to see Gallon actually go down this quickly into the match, but honestly, I think that they just forced out a lot of cooldowns. A key moment for sure in this game was, again, we see those rings of pieces from Waz time and time again. This time around, interrupting the immunity to interrupts that Gallon has, as well as earlier on, we saw it being used to kind of reduce the effectiveness of that darkness that Mayland used. And if you land enough kicks here, you actually have a lot of pressure. Gallon actually gets stunned up on that way of the crane there towards the end as well. Honestly, it's a lot of mistakes here on the side of We Were Here. They had a huge mana lead and a huge cooldown lead as well, but it's very interesting to see that this strategy actually paid out for them, because what you would typically expect is see that first Hammer of Justice get reverse magic, then you would expect that Mistweaver to kind of get away, and then you can kind of take it from there, start rotating through those defenses, but they weren't able to do that. A lot of it is for sure because of those rings of pieces being super, super key.
Yeah, you talk about this comp potentially being one that's going to outlast, but mistakes coming through. They were forced by Method Black, and we're going to hop to a quick break, but when we return, Method Black may force another 3-0 today. Dominating performances coming out of all of the teams in the EU, and right now, we may see another. This one is for a spot in the grand final. We're going to have to see in the next one if Method Black can take this in a way that we expect them to play. But after they got 3-0'd, you maybe had some of your doubts. Wildcard Gaming just seems to be on another plane of existence. Zico, what do you expect to see happen in this third game?
Dalaran Arena, or Supertease's favorite map, Ruins of Lordaeron. I think we're going to see the Windwalker Death Knight return, possibly from We Were Here. Of course, it depends on what Method Black decides to pick. And from Method Black, I think it's easier to tell what they're going to play when we actually see the map pick, because if it's a big map, most likely going to be Wizards. But it's okay, so Blade's Edge, and we are going to see Chaz on that Resto Shaman. I like this a lot. They are swapping out the Holy Paladin here for that Resto Shaman. Big fan of that. You're going to be able to go toe-to-toe in terms of mana with Gallon, and you're going to have a lot more just disruption from that Restoration Shaman, and you won't need to go for those strings. The problem is Chaz could be potential targeted for We Were Here. We could see a Shaman all-in happen.
Chaz has also played Druid, Shaman, and Paladin today already.
And he played Priest the entirety of last year.
It's so crazy to see what Chaz really is able to do for this team. It's definitely important to note. But then, what did you want to hop in and say here?
Well, I think for Chaz on the Restoration Shaman, what we saw yesterday in North America is, although you expect a Resto Shaman to go down in a matchup like this, with Pack Spirit, how powerful it is. If he's just sitting in Ghost Wolf, he's able to just run away, regenerate his health. And I think if Raikou and Waz are there to back him up with the Ring of Pieces and snares, more importantly, if they can get a snare on Mayline and Suniki, then all of a sudden Chaz in that Ghost Wolf is going to be having a pretty good time being able to escape.
The ability is fantastic. That's why it was even surprising a little bit earlier when, you know, you have Walrix on the Druid. There's a talent that literally makes it so 20% of the damage is redirected to him, and you see a Shaman in Ghost Wolf. You don't expect him to go down. That was one of the things that was so crazy about that matchup, but we will see the strength of the Shaman here. Chaz on yet another healer. This is why we say Method Black has so many different options when they do get to the arena. We're going to make it nice and tight here on Blade's Edge. Who's going to be able to take it? Method Black, will they get to the grand final? Are we were here? Man, the past tense here really messing me up. Are they here? We're going to find out right now.
I don't think so. I mean, they're about to be gone.
Jeez Louise.
They've only got one more chance, man.
Yeah, one more chance. Can they take down Chaz? That is the strategy. Raikou and Waz all in onto Gallon right away as he ports away. Waz port on top of him, and that's one of the things that makes it so difficult for a Mistweaver monk in this matchup. Normally, you have your Transcendence portal, you can escape, but if the enemy Windwalker's smart, he can put his Transcendence there as well and easily chase you down.
Looks like We Were Here going all in here on the game number 3, and it's match points as Chaz going to choke under the pressure. Tries to juke Suniki off the side, doesn't manage to find that bait. Ring of Peace now onto Chaz. Maybe would have been wise to knock him out of his Earthen Wall totem. Chaz actually decides to just try and run away. He's taking huge damage, a lot of unexpected burst from We Were Here. Maybe this series, maybe the entire tournament just turns into Run It, the healer for the rest of the European region, because it seems to be quite effective in terms of power. Gallon now on the back foot. He faces elimination. The pressure keeps on cooking.
Well, for Chaz and Pack Spirit and Ghost Wolf, it becomes very scary with the Maledicts. So when you have the Maledicts, it's going to be soaking up all that Ghost Wolf healing. But now that that threat is gone, you can see he's just a wolf. He's running in circles. Mayline and Tsuneki trying to take him down, but this doggy is going to be very difficult.
That wasn't me. That was Sid, by the way. Please don't fire me.
No, that wasn't me at all. It was Rich, 100%.
All right,
that was Rich.
Leg sweep on Chaz, no trinket. This is an opportunity, not in Ghost Wolf. Was there to try to help out. Full incapacitate on Tsuneki. Raiku's just chasing down Gallon in this matchup over and over, looking for potential mana rifts and consistent pressure, imprisonment on the Ring of Peace, so Raikou can maintain his uptime and not allow Gallon to fully recover his health.
All right, Mayline the target here for Waz as they split their damage and make it difficult for Gallon to top either player off. Now, deep into dampening, this could net them a kill. I like that they've got the Windwalker attacking the Death Knight, adding that Mortal Wounds effect to reduce healing. Now reconvening during a stun lock on the healer to attack Gallon together. Chaz is just running laps like a little wolf NASCAR, constantly kiting away from his opponents. Caught into a stun now and finally getting bursted by We Were Here. Still match point for Method Black. They still have all of the cards in their hand to really pull this off. Chaz seems to be dealing with it quite effectively. Tsuneki trying to stay on target. Mayline still managing to stay there as well. There's a Maledix. Let's see how Chaz deals with this healing absorption pressure. They are just opting to trade Darkness, but Ring of Peace, he was relying on that. Chaz now gets knocked away from the defense. More Maledix incoming. Chaz running around the corners, trying to avoid death, but now caught into a stun. Sort of disrespecting the damage output here, but it looks like he's going to be able to get away with it.
I don't think it's a bad idea for him to hold on to his trinket. He still has his Spirit Link, so trading those cooldowns out together is normally what we see. What's going to be crucial for Method Black is that Raikou and Waz are there on top of Chaz, so we can actually get value out of that cooldown. Mana still Chaz. I don't think he's actually used mana to heal himself in this game. Just been really relying on that Pack Spirit in Ghost Wolf as he kites up top. Refreshes Earthen Shield before the stun. Mayline connects. Tsunekai connects as well. Chaz has to trinket out. He's
he juked him.
Yeah, actually, he finally juked Mayline off the edge by pretending to run off the edge. Mayline got ahead of himself and jumped off voluntarily. So that was definitely a bit of a misplay by We Were Here. Nicely done by Chaz.
And Chaz continuing to just run laps around the arena, really showcasing that Azerite trait, Pack Spirit. It was recently buffed in the Azerite changes made, reducing all traits by 50%. It was reduced significantly more than that. You definitely want to pick it up, but during these stun lock windows, there's still a huge window to just completely take him down. All three members with Way of the Crane during a stun was enough to finally put a point on the board for We Were Here.
Yeah, you said it yourself. Chaz running around like a little wolf ambulance. Ow! But ultimately, he's going to get put into the pen, and now it's going to be 2-1 Zico.
Yeah, the Night King claims the wolf. We got...
I don't get that reference.
It's fine, Sid.
It's fine, Sid.
You can keep talking about puppy NASCAR.
Well, the main thing that comes here is... the main thing that we can really count on here is the map really allows for this to happen. The uptime that the Death Knight and the Windwalker are just able to have onto Chaz is because of this map. And of course, we also got to highlight this Way of the Crane here. Beautiful setup here from Gallon. He's not activated it just yet, but here he's going to get a ton of value from this spell. DR leg sweep coming in onto Chaz. Beautifully done there by Tsunekai. And he gets off probably 2 or 3 Rising Sun kicks right there, topping off his team, also taking down Chaz. He had his Spirit Link there, but I don't think he had enough time to actually activate that one.
I don't understand what's with these shamans playing Alliance. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't just go Orc.
EU makes the mistakes of playing Alliance when they don't need to, and then NA makes the mistakes of playing Horde, and I think it's because they just natively play those factions.
Method Orange also played Alliance yesterday in the Clean Mirror. We saw
once, and then they realized it was a big mistake, right?
I think they played it the entire series.
No, there's no way. I think he just swapped a Orc.
I think I saw Mez on that night.
I don't know. We can double check.
Either way, we've seen some mistakes for sure from both regions when it comes down to picking races. Some healers like Gorecki likes to play that Tauren Druid instead of the Night Elf. We've criticized that. We've seen some teams pick up the Dwarf Shaman over the Orcs, and here of course is also one of those scenarios where I agree we should have seen a Horde team come out of Method Black for sure.
Yep. I think if you want to see what's under the hood for the puppy NASCAR, he's basically running 3 combinations of Azerite traits, Honor talents, and normal talents. So the Azerite trait Pack Spirit is just a consistent heal over time effect that ticks while he is sitting in Ghost Wolf. He can then take the Honor talent Spectral Recovery, which adds another healing effect to the Ghost Wolf. And then you can take a normal talent called the Spirit Wolf, which just over time reduces damage you take and makes you move faster the longer you sit in Ghost Wolf. So with with these 3 things being put into the gas tank for the Shaman player, you can do this as enhancement, elemental, or restoration. You become a very fast wolf that cannot really be taken down outside of a burst opportunity that was taken by We Were Here.
You literally become the goodest boy, and we've seen so many different things that you can do with it as well. One of my favorite plays that we've seen, I'm trying to remember who did it first, but you see them inside of the Ghost Wolf, and then they're popping Ascendance, and they basically get Tranquility that you don't have to cast. Like, it's insane. They're just putting out the heals to their entire team from all that.
It was Absturge in that.
I think it was Absturge.
Game number 1 yesterday. That was very impressive. He had no mana, it was deep into dampening, and the move managed to claim that game.
Yeah,
that was very nice.
It was really cool to get to see that. I mean, he was also one of the people who really started using this talent earlier, too, last year even. And then we saw him and Sidhu really mastering being the puppy, being the wolf, Chuck becoming part of the Golden Army himself. But we're going to see, we were here now, going to not have the advantage. We talk about Method picking up that early momentum. They're going to bring it to a much larger map. What does this say to you about which compositions they're going to try to bring?
So Method Black most likely going to be running either Moonkin Elemental Resto Druid or Mage Elemental Resto Druid. 12-year-on, fantastic map. Lots of opportunity to drink on this map. Shaz is gonna be very, very thirsty, as it is a desert. I'm sorry, I said I had to do it once. And I was going to say here, We Were Here should lock in the Demon Hunter, so I'm very pleased to see that. Demon Hunter, compared to the Death Knight, is not really going to be stuck in those situations where in deep dampening, the Death Strike is not going to be able to sustain himself that much, and he's going to be forced to kind of just sit in his own anti-magic zone in the middle of the map, slowly but surely going down. Instead, we're going to have a Demon Hunter, much more hit-and-run based as a class. Still has that fantastic burst opportunities with the Metamorphosis and the I-Beams, but also has that big sustain damage, and also it helps Gallon to come out of those some of those polymorphs. So it's going to be interesting to see what Method Black responds, but most likely Resto Druid and Elemental Shaman, and then what the third wizard is, I would guess for a mage, but it could also be a Moonkin Druid.
I want to see Frost Death Knight.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think Swaps is going to bring out the Frost Death Knight.
I want to see it happen so bad. What did we actually think of that Frost Death Knight? There's a chance that we see it when we do head back over to NA, which is, we're getting there very quickly. On a large map, obviously not something that would be what you would expect, but we did see it into a comp pretty similar to this. What did you think of it, Zico, now that we've gotten a taste of it?
Well, Frost Death Knight has a 100% win rate so far in these cups, so but we don't know how much, because Method changed their strategy as well. So Method and Maz was the first one to actually bring it out over in North America yesterday, and I think we saw Method change their strategy from targeting the Demon Hunter that they were up against to targeting the Windwalker, and we saw them do the same thing as Unholy and still win. So I'm not sure how much we can kind of give that of that win to the Frost Death Knight, but one thing is for sure though, Frost Death Knight with the Heartstop aura and the Delirium is very, very annoying to play against. It kind of just changes the entire playstyle, and we are going to see Method Black lock in the Ellie Mage Resto Druid. Not a big surprise here. We're going to have to see what Mayland and Sunnikai can do. I want to see them go for big all-ins with triple Maledict onto Raikou and try to force out those ice blocks.
Yeah, you're right with that call. I do think it was really cool to get to see the Frost Death Knight, but I want to ask a bigger question here. When we do look at, we have, this is the third day of play, right, with the changes that we actually have seen. How much do you think every single day of tournament play impacts the decisions that the players are making? Because like when we got here at first, I even saw Chuck tweeted out Sidhu tweeted out something last night along the lines of like, day 2 kind of felt different than what we watched in day 1. And I think a lot of the reasons for that is because information is being gained as we move further and further through, different teams trying different things. And then the next team goes, maybe I should give that a try. Maybe I should give that a go. Do you think when we get here in the third day, we've learned a lot more about these changes, Van?
This feels very similar to day 2 for me, at least. I think North America had a little bit more time to play from the European tournament on Friday, and this, exactly what we're seeing right here, is kind of what we've expected. I think we've been able to call most of the matches, most of the setups, and I think these teams have relatively figured it out. It might feel a little different for the players, at least from the initial change, because I think a lot of them have had to make adaptations in their strategy, like getting out of certain honor talents, playing a little bit more efficient, looking for drinks earlier on, maybe not overhealing as much as they necessarily would in the past. So Mistweaver Monk, for example, in the past might have just tossed out an enveloping mist to sort of top off his team as soon as he possibly could, but now more relying on the soothing mist and some of the passive healing that the DPS provide, saving some of that mana for later on.
It's so important to give the players credit too. I mean, you get to that first day of play for Europe that actually allowed them to even get here, to get to the top 4. We looked at our top 8, and all of a sudden they're thrown into a brand new patch. They're learning it very quickly, and it's very exciting for us, but it's also something that can be very stressful for them. I think that's part of the fun for us, to get to watch everybody adapt to the changes, but the players have learned so fast and really have started to crack the meta. Let's see who's going to be able to get all the way to the grand finals. Method Black and We Were Here both looking for their rematch against Wildcard Gaming. Who's gonna get it? We're gonna find out soon.
Yeah, Method Black looked shaky earlier on in the tournament, getting 3-0'd by Wildcard Gaming. That does not happen very often to Method Black. They were a dominant force the entirety of last year, the highest point earners across the globe, and now getting slapped down to the lower bracket by Wildcard Gaming. And We Were Here look to be the final nail in the coffin as they managed to stay alive in this series, putting 1 point on the board. But can they crack the defense of this Elemental Shaman Frost Mage composition on the biggest map in the pool? A large task to be undertaken by We Were Here. Can they pull it off?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see what Mayline can get done on that Demon Hunter. Once again, Suniki, he's going to be running the Serenity talent. That's going to be a little bit different than the Storm, Earth, and Fire. Basically, what Serenity does is it makes all your chi spenders free. The cooldown on those spells is cut in half, and it's a really good ability for offense. Increases the damage as well. So look out for that, which we see right now. Forces out Iron Bark from Chaz, and when Chaz has that Iron Bark up, Raikou has the Temporal Shield. I think they're going to be completely fine through this initial push.
Yeah, both teams trading blows early on and fairly efficient trades on both parts. No real advantages making themselves apparent just yet, but I think that Mayline on that Demon Hunter instead of the Death Knight was a good mix-up in strategy on the biggest map in the pool, as he would obviously be kited quite effectively on that Death Knight, so it was definitely a good decision. Hex snuck in here onto Gallon as the team of Method Black try to attack, but Suniki already retreated back behind the pillar. Nice evasive maneuvers to avoid that while his healer was crowd controlled. Now Gallon is on Polymorph Diminishing Returns. He would like to potentially get aggressive. No, opting to just play far back. Mayline chasing Chaz around to deny him from drinking and extending his mana to a late game play. Good trade here on Gallon's part for that Lightning Lasso. Life Cocoon quite effective at negating its pressure. However, Mayline now cycloned on it, denying a little bit of his advances. Ursul's Vortex pinning him down in midfield. Swapsy looking for hexes. Crowd control is good. Where's the damage? Mayline makes a trade and immediately just ducks into the fight to continue attacking towards Raikou, seemingly not acknowledging any of the damage that Method Black had in this position and maybe potentially throwing away the fight. Now Cycloned at low health. Mayline with the disrespect.
Yeah, but he still has Nether Walk and Darkness. He should be completely fine. Way the Crane available for Gallon as well. We've seen these matchups play out quite a bit in these tournaments, and normally it takes a lot of dampening to actually end the game. Mayline is going to be able to kite around, and what makes it difficult for We Were Here is they have to walk a thin line. If they stay out in the open for too long, they're very susceptible to damage, but if they sit back and hide for too long, cooldowns start rotating back up for Chaz and Raikou. If every time you push out, Chaz has Iron Bark, Raikou has Temporal Shield, then they're going to be completely fine. So you have to have enough offense to be forcing out those cooldowns, only hide for a limited amount of time, so Raikou and Chaz can't regenerate those short defensive cooldowns, and that's when you really need to be looking to make a push. And that's when you see teams like We Were Here, they need to be breaking up their offensive cooldowns as well. They need to use Touch of Death to try to get the Temporal Shield. Right now is actually a great window. Iron Bark gets tossed out by Chaz, which was because of that Touch of Death, and Chaz actually not doing great on mana, so if We Were Here can continue this pressure and stop Chaz from actually recovering his mana, doesn't seem like they know where he is, and I think Chaz is actually going to get almost a complete reset right now as Gallon just runs right through him, stopping him a little bit too late. Chaz with good recovery there, and that's what we're going to be looking to see from Method Black, is they are playing sort of a stall tactic in this game. Raikou and Swapsy just focusing on survival, Chaz looking for mana, and eventually just staying in the open for too long is going to be difficult for We Were Here as we move into dampening, but they might not even need it. Honestly, Mayline has been singled out in this game, targeted down. Netherwalk has been used. He still has the darkness, but Gallon having a difficult time keeping him alive.
I think it's important to note that even though We Were Here face elimination here against probably one of the best teams in the world, they're still playing confidently. They're still trying to run down Raikou. They're not playing scared. They're looking to try and get as much opportunity as they can, even though they're against the wall, and that is impressive in my books. Facing down Method Black, Gallon caught into a polymorph. Mayline isolated midfield. Urso's Vortex pulls him back into the fight. He's unable to escape. Massive Comet Storm damage, but denied now by the healing of Gallon. Another Cyclone at low health by Chaz, but these Cyclones really don't do too much, especially before dampening. Other than tax his mana more heavily, I almost would like to see Chaz not make these plays with Cyclone, even though they look really cool and awesome, but they just don't objectively get anything done. Now Raikou on the back foot, Iron Bark and Temporal Shield activated at the same time. A bit of a mistake off a panic attack of Chaz. Chaz runs into the far open corner to sit down and try and regenerate mana. This way, if somebody chases after him, they are going to expose their position to both Swapsy and Raikou, as Suniki has right now. I think that was smart maneuvers by Chaz.
Yeah, intelligently done by Chaz, baiting Suniki in the open to Supati's wizard corner. And basically what that is, that positioning on the map where Chaz is a good spot to stand, as there's really nowhere for Mayline and Suniki to run and hide if they do end up going out into the open, exposed like that. I want to see more uptime from Raikou's Water Elemental as well. I know it sounds like such a minor thing, but a lot of these mages, when I watch them, they just have really limited uptime. Finally, it's attacking again, but that damage really adds up over time, especially in a matchup like this where every point of damage, every point of mana really matters. Icy Vein's now going to be used by Raikou as he gets polymorph onto Mayline, looking for pressure onto Suniki, but the Life Cocoon of Gallon will be strong, and that's one of the main strengths of that Mistweaver Monk, the really low cooldown, 50-second cooldown on Life Cocoon, or 55-second cooldown on Life Cocoon. That big shield will allow Suniki and Mayline to get aggressive. It's also very mana efficient, so Gallon's just going to be throwing it out there, trying to absorb some damage as often as possible. Good setup here from Method Black. Suniki forced to use his defuse magic, and now with no Tetrakarma, no diffuse magic, he is very vulnerable as a target. Chaz, mana not doing great. Actually, We Were Here has the mana lead. Chaz is going to have to try to find a way to find some mana at some point in this game.
Yeah, it's still anyone's match here in game number 4. Potentially We Were Here could swing this back 3 in a row. They've got a mana lead, but the crowd control and pressure has been in favor of Method Black. As Gallon sits through another Hex, Mayline stalls out the match with that Darkness Cloud, but Swapsy punts Suniki out of it. He's immediately able to roll back into it and then portal out of line of sight. Suniki on that Windwalker Monk is going to be difficult to pin down with such high mobility, but Swapsy is hunting him. He's got space to breathe on Method Black. They've got one game that they can afford to lose, so they can take risks and play more aggressive, and We Were Here are going to have to deal with that onslaught here shortly with dampening ramping up.
Yep, and the Swapsy using the Stormkeeper, looking for some damage. Lightning Lasso on Suniki. They might be able to take him down with the full Cyclone, and he just stayed in the open too long. No portal, no defensives. He needed to run and hide, but Method Black able to take advantage of that with a quick 3-0.
We were here. It's going to be past tense. Method Black is still going to be here, moving on forward to the grand final for their rematch, and honestly, it's still looking a little bit grim for them. They're going to need to figure out something in that next series, because what they did here is basically what just got done to them when they were still in the upper portion of the bracket. But Zico, how did they close it out?
So Suniki actually has a false sense of security here. His Karma is coming back up soon. Gallon's Trinket is still ready here. Raikou manages to snipe a nice little sheep there onto Gallon. Beautiful Pet Nova as well onto Mayline. But look at Chaz here. This is really the key moment here in the game. You can see Suniki is super low. Chaz goes for the clone, cancels the clone. Nice resheep from Raikou. Gallon trinkets into the clone on his trinket, which means that Suniki is not going to get that touch of karma that has 5 seconds left remaining. If Gallon had been able to trinket the Cyclone, got the revival or the renew off, the revival or the cocoon off, then we would have also seen that touch of karma come off, and then all of a sudden, Chaz has 10% mana. We have a lot of defense active right now, and it could have been a different game. Honestly, We Were Here played that matchup as about as good as you can, considering they got chance at least to run dry on mana, and there was some pressure at least. It's a very hard matchup. It's the largest map in the pool as well, so kudos to them. I look forward to seeing them next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting to start to see where a lot of the teams have fallen. It's going to be exciting at the end of the day to actually look at the standings for not just EU, but NA as well. But let's talk about the grand final and what we expect to see, because Sid, it didn't look good for Method Black, and it's not often that we don't at least see them play it close.
Well, Wildcard Gaming showed that balanced through Elemental Shaman in the blind pick earlier on. So if you're Method Black, you're thinking, are they going to do that in game number 1? What's our best option to beat that? It might actually be that they have to mirror them. So we may see an Elemental Shaman Balanced Druid mirror if they feel that way about it. But at the same time, if you're on the side of Wildcard Gaming, you're thinking, well, we just showed them we played that in the blind pick. What if we don't actually pick it? We try and pick into what they think we're going to pick. But at that point, I'm almost not even sure what the best comp is.
It's too many levels deep.
It's too many. It's Inception. I can't handle it. But I expect a mirror, actually, in game 1. Or something close to it, a wizard fight.
I think it's one of those things, though, as we look at the bracket right now, we can kind of see the road that these teams did go on. I mean, you think that they think that you think that you think that they think, so you probably do lock in a mirror here.
But did you really think?
Yeah, that's a question I've been asking myself for a very long time. But Method Black, as you can see, they were cruising on through 3-0, 3-0 until they go up against Wildcard Gaming. That's going to be the first series that they lost, the only series that they lost in this tournament. Now they have managed to bounce back. And as you can see, Wildcard Gaming is sitting there pretty comfortably because they've already beaten both of these teams. Who do you think takes this one, Ven? Do you think that it's going to be Wildcard Gaming again, or do you think that the cards can be rearranged?
I definitely think the cards can be rearranged. I think Method Black, they're going to learn from that series a lot. I think they got outpicked every step of the way, and now that they've Wildcard Gaming has sort of revealed their hand, Method Black will have a much better time.
You might say the deck was stacked against them.
How'd that feel?
I mean, I wasn't even trying to make a pun. It was just the proper words to use.
And it always
Anyways,
is.
But yeah, it always feels good.
It always feels so goddamn good.
You can tell that he's ascending to a dad.
And that's what Method Black is going to try to do here. This is a team that has looked so strong, and already, I think it is important to note, probably have had a stronger beginning to a season than we typically expect. This is a team that, as much as you expect them to do really well, they definitely grow. They are a team that figures out the meta and becomes the best at it, gets that practice, gets better and better as tournaments go. And then you look on the other hand, Wildcard Gaming. This seems like a team that is going to be somewhat unshakable throughout the entirety of the year.
Yeah, Wildcard Gaming is just one of those titans. It's always kind of been Method Black versus Wildcard Gaming. And it's a great match to see, and a lot of it comes down to that blind pick. They're gonna need to, for sure, reshuffle that deck and maybe bring out something a little bit less expected. What I would love to see would be Morrow coming on that Warlock. We know that he plays it. A Warlock, I think, most likely would secure that blind pick from Morrow, because the Warlock is going to be able to shut down a lot of these other wizards that Method Black has. The Moonkin and the Mage as well are both going to be countered by that Warlock. I don't think Method Black are going to look in a melee cleave on Nagrand Arena, so I want to see Morrow on the lock, maybe with Zipai on the Ellie Shaman, just have the ultimate anti-caster cleave, play for a long game with Luna and that Druid, and maybe they can grab that win that way.
The